today we'll be discussing about the life of Amrish Maharaj and how he dealt with how how was his devotional service and how did he dealt with different situations in his life. There was a personality called as Nabhag, very famous personality in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nabhag, and he spent most of his time in Gurukul. And what happened during those time when Nabhag was in the Gurukul, his brother did not consider sharing the kingdom with him, and they thought that this person Nabhag is gone to Gurukul and his life will be as a celibate, so there is no need for him to give the kingdom. So his brothers they divided the whole kingdom amongst each other, and uh, they started to live very peacefully. So one day, Nabhag he returned home, and he went to his brothers, and he went to his father and he asked for his share. But when Nabhag went to his father and told him about his brother's dealings, that his father was very sad, and he said that your brothers have cheated you. Your brother should have given you the right share for you. So his brother said that if there is something you have in as a share, you have your father with you. So your father is your property. So you take care of your father. So the old father, he said, Nabhag, what can I do? But yes, I can give you something. I can teach you something. So his father taught him two, two specific mantras. And he told that you go and chant this mantra where Angira Rishi is doing tapasya is performing a sacrifice with so many other rishis. So you go there and with the help of this mantra, you'll be able to please them. By this mantras will help you. So on the orders of his father, Nabhag went there, and Nabhag executed his father's order, and thus Angira and other rishis who were there, they personally were pleased. And these great rishis were performing tapasya, this sacrifice, and they collected a lot of wealth. And certainly, the sages, while going to the heavenly planets, they are not going to carry this wealth with them. So they were about to leave it on the planet Earth. So they thought of giving this to Nabhag. And when he got so much wealth, when Nabhag got so much wealth from the sadhus, so Lord Shiva came there to test him. And Lord Shiva was satisfied with Nabhag's behavior. And Lord Shiva also offered him more riches. So in this way, he was very honest. Nabhag was very honest with his dealings. That's why what happened was that although his brothers cheated him, but Nabhag got all the property, all the Antariksha Dhan, it is called Antariksha Dhan from so many sadhus, and he got the blessings from Lord Shiva. So and later on, Nabhag got married, and he had a beautiful and very devoted son called as Amrish. Now, Amrish Maharaj was a very powerful and a celebrated devotee. In fact, Amrish Maharaj was the emperor of the whole world. Now imagine a person who is having so much opulence with him. He was the king of the whole world. He was ruling the entire world. Yes, this was a situation previously. Right now, if you see in the whole world, we have the Prime Minister of India. You might be having President or Prime Minister in Mauritius and different places. America has a president. Europe has different countries. They have their individual presidents and prime ministers. But earlier also the system was like that only. That there used to be different kings in the different places, but all of them used to choose one person as the emperor of the whole world. This doesn't happen now, but this used to happen previously. So Amrish Maharaj was the emperor of the whole world, but he considered his opulence temporary. He had so much. He had this understanding from the scriptures he has studied, he has did sadhu sangha, he has this understanding that such material opulence, if a person gets attached to this material opulence, attached, then it can become a cause of his fall down. So that's why Amrish Maharaj was always unattached to the opulence. Instead, what was he doing? He engaged his senses and mind in the service of the Lord. This process is also called as Yukta Vairagya. So, which is Amrish Maharaj, because Amrish Maharaj was the emperor, he was very immensely opulent. So he had no tension of earning money and all these things. So he was only thing he was not attached to all this wealth. He was very peacefully rendering devotional service to the Lord. He performed devotional service with great opulence, and very opulently he decorated the Lord. Opulently he had nice temples, and all the money which he had, he was using it for the devotional service of the Lord, for the benefit of the people in general, and to also enhance their Krishna consciousness. So Amrish Maharaj had Shukdev Goswami, when he glorifies Amrish Maharaj, he says, Amrisho Mahabhaga Sapta Deeporvati Mahim Abhyayam cha Shriyam Labha Vivavam Chatulam Bhuri. What is Shukdev Goswami saying? That Amrish Maharaj was the most fortunate personality because he got an opportunity to rule the whole world. Whole world means all the 7 islands. And he achieved unlimited opulence, unlimited prosperity. And all this position of the emperor of the whole world is very rarely attained. But Maharaj Amrish, how was he? He did not care for it at all. So while practicing Krishna consciousness, by practicing devotional service, we might come to a lot of positions in our, we might become very educated. We might get a lot of positions in our material life. We might achieve so many things. We might get a good job in the biggest company. We might become CEO or something like that. Or we can start our own company and it expands. We get a lot of profit. But we need to understand that if a person like Amrish Maharaj, who was the ruler of the whole world, he did not care for it at all, for all this opulence. How he thought that this was, he imagined it like a dream. And it's true, it is like a dream. Such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. It is not going to go with us after we leave our body. So it has to be here only. So why we should be attached to this? So in our life also, if we become successful in some things, we should not become attached to it. We should not become attached. We should do our duty. Like Amrish Maharaj was ruling the whole kingdom. So we should also do our duty nicely. Earn money, do our duties, take care of the family. But the main principle is to remain unattached. Then where should the attachment go? We should be attached to something. So our attachment should be for Krishna. Our attachment should be for his rendering devotional service. When a person is fixed in devotional service, then what happens? Then however opulence it comes, it will not disturb. Like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj had so much opulence with him and he was not affected at all. And Sudama was also like that. Sudama was completely opposite. Because so much, Sudama had nothing with him. Absolutely nothing with Sudama. But when he got everything from the Lord, he was not attached to it at all. So the king knew that any non-devotee who attends such opulence merges very increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. If some person gets a lot of wealth, what will happen? If he forgets Krishna and he just tries to enjoy the material opulence, then he will guide himself to mode of darkness. We need to understand this from the life of Maharaj Amrish. Shukdev Goswami further says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Tata Bhakteshu Sadhushu Prapto Bhavam Param Vishwam Ene Lokavrita Smritam. Maharaj Amrish was a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. and he was also a great devotee of the saintly person. Now, this is a very important thing. Many times we go to the temple, we offer a pranams to the Lord, we get very attached to the Lord, but we completely ignore the devotees. What we do, we sometimes find fault with them, we sometimes criticize them, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. So Amrish Maharaj is teaching us a lesson. Amrish Maharaj is teaching that he was not only a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, but also he was a great devotee of the saintly person, who are the Lord's devotees. And because of this devotion, because of his devotion to what? To the saintly people and to the Supreme Lord himself. He thought of this, and because of their mercy, Amrish Maharaj's situation was that he thought of this entire universe as insignificant as a piece of stone. I mean, it had no value in his life. For him, the only value is engaging everything in this material opulence in Krishna's service. Further, Shukdev Goswami says, Savay mana Krishna padar avindayor vanchachi vaikunta gunana varnane karo harer mandir marjanadishu shutim chakara chito satakata dayo. What is Shukdev Goswami saying? How was he engaged always? Maharaj Amrish was always engaging his mind in meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. When you go to temple, or whenever you see the Lord, our Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentions how should we take darshan of the Lord. So our first glance should fell on the lotus feet of the Lord. From the lotus feet of the Lord, gradually we should move upwards the thighs and towards his beautiful bracelets he's wearing, and gradually we should move to his hand and then to his lotus face. So this is the way one should proceed while taking darshan in the temple. You might have Krishna Balram deities and Radha Golokananda, different deities you have in Mauritius and other places. So always when you go to the temple, start meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Because this is what Amrish Maharaj did, and this is what Shukdev Goswami is also asking us to do. That Amrish Maharaj always meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. His words, he was so careful in using his words that his words were always engaged in glorifying the Lord. That is very important, how we use our words. Because this tongue can, if we use this tongue only for glorification of the Lord, this is the best use of the tongue. Otherwise, in this material world, if you say something, people might understand something else, and there is a fight, there is a chaos, and so many things go on. That's why previously the sages, there are two kinds of sages. There is one Muni and there is Mahamuni. What does Muni do? Muni means they always remain mourn. They are so afraid that they don't wish to speak about anything else. Muni, mourn, they maintain silence. They don't speak on it. But the devotees are not like that. Devotees are like Mahamunis. Mahamunis means they speak only about Lord Krishna, his activities, his form, his pastimes, and they maintain a silence when it comes to speaking about material things. So Amrish Maharaj always engaged his words in glorifying Krishna. His hands were engaged in cleansing the Lord's temple. His ears were engaged in hearing about the glories of the Lord. This is how a life of a devotee should be. Very simple life. Hearing about Krishna's glories, reading about it, speaking about it, cleansing the Lord's temple. This is the life of a devotee. He engaged his eyes in seeing the Lord, seeing the form of the Lord, and he engaged and visiting different places like Mathura, Vrindavan. His senses, he used to engage them in touching the bodies of the devotees. He used to embrace them, hug them. and he engaged his smelling ability in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, to the flowers which are offered to the Lord. We should be very careful, very often we get something which is very good, so we should always keep it for the Lord. We should offer it to the Lord, and then the Mahaprasad should be smelled. And his tongue was always engaged in eating prasad. So in this way, his entire 24 hours a day, he was engaged like this. So imagine if a king of the whole world is like this. So imagine what could be the situation of the kingdom, of the citizens. So citizens also were very devoted to the Lord. If the king is such a devotee, naturally his qualities, it goes in the life of the citizens. So what happened was most of the citizens of the whole world also were very devoted to the Lord. So this is a way. This is a way for increasing attachment to the Lord and becoming completely free from material desires. Hearing about the Lord, reading about the Lord, speaking about His glories, eating prasads, serving the Lord's temple, walking, doing parikrama, circumambulating the Lord's temple, and greeting devotees, smelling the fragrance of the Lord's lotus seeds, tulsi. So these are the various ways by which one can gradually increase his attachment towards the Lord and becomes completely free from the material desires. Then further also, Maharaj Shukdev Goswami says, one might say that he was such a devotee, big devotee, such a great devotee. So how was he performing his duties as a king? Was he neglecting? He was doing his duties as a king very well, very well. Maharaj Amrish always offered the result of his royal activities to the Supreme Personality, because he understood that Supreme Lord is the enjoyer of everything. And whenever he had, the most important thing which Amrish Maharaj always did was, while doing his duties as a king, that he always took advice from Brahmanas. Always took advice from the Brahmanas who were faithful devotees of the Lord. So this is a habit which we should also try to bring in our lives. If we want to do something, then we should ask advice from senior people. So this will help us. This will also help us in decision making, in our decision making of our life. And there is absolutely no harm if all the decisions are taken like that in our life, because this will help us to get a broader vision of what has to be done. Because there are so many experienced people around, even though while studying, while taking education, while taking which field to choose and which college to go, and where should I get a job, which field to choose. So everything, if instead of doing it our own, if we seek some advice from, yes, we have to take our own decisions, but we can certainly seek advice from the senior experienced people who are the devotees of the Lord, not from everybody, devotees of the Lord. We should consult them. And in this way, it will help us in our day-to-day life. And Amrish Maharaj, he was also engaged in performing great sacrifices like Ashwamedha Yajna and so many different yajnas he performed for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So he was also offering good amount of wealth to the Brahmanas, and he gave good amount of dakshina also, and good paraphernalia. Good paraphernalia was given to the Brahmanas, good dakshina was given to the Brahmanas. So in this way, he satisfied the Brahmanas, the saintly people, and he got their blessings. So he was the emperor of the whole world. What is the need for him to serve the Brahmanas, one might ask? But still, he understood this, that he used to consider himself as insignificant. Although he was a great devotee of the Lord, but he considered himself insignificant. And he used to always consider Brahmanas as superiors. And he always understood that these Brahmanas are closer to Krishna than him. And so he used to, whenever he used to perform these sacrifices, and so many Brahmanas used to come and help them. So he used to offer a lot of gifts and dakshina to the Brahmanas. And he used to please them. He used to please them. So this is the way Maharaj Amrish used to live his life. And then, because of Amrish Maharaj's influence, what happened was that the citizens of the state of Amrish Maharaj, Swargano Parthito Yasya, Manujair Amarapriya, Shavanadibhir Upagadhyabhir Uttama Shloka Chetisam. So what used to happen was, the citizens of that kingdom, Amrish Maharaj's kingdom, were so accustomed in chanting and hearing about the glories of the Lord. They become so used to, because they saw their king doing it. They saw their king doing it, so they thought, yes, so if the king is doing it, we will also do it. And in this way, the whole of the kingdom was also absorbed in chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. Thus, they never aspired, the whole of kingdom never aspired to attend heavenly planets, or they never they never were they were respectful to the demigods, but they never desired to attend kingdom, their heavenly kingdom. So that such an influence Amrish Maharaj had on the whole of citizens. So this is what happens when we have a leader who is like this. So it's a very important thing. A pure devotee, who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, and the Lord's fame, Lord's qualities, Lord's forms, Lord's pastimes, is never interested in elevation to heavenly planets. You should understand. And even though such places are very dear to the demigods, but the devotees of the Lord are never interested. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. When he's associating with the Lord, he's already in Vaikuntha. When he's hearing of the Lord, glorifying the Lord, serving the Lord all the time, he's already with the Lord in the Vaikuntha. So a devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. The devotees are known as akama, or desireless, because they have nothing to desire except to render the transcendental loving service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And this is only possible if we get such a good leader. So further, Shukdev Goswami says that those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness, those who are always saturated means those who are always absorbed in enjoying the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Lord, are not interested in the achievements of the material world. They're not interested in anything from the material world. They will use that particular thing for the service of the Lord, not for themselves. So we need to also learn this art. This is art. This is art we have to learn. As pure devotees of the Lord, they are like this. However rich we become, however big positions we get in our life, we should know this art of engaging everything in Krishna's service. This is what, as you young people, we have to learn this art of engaging everything in Krishna. Saha ittam bhakti yogena tapo yuktena parthiva sarva dharmena hari prinan sarvan kaman shaner jahu. Amrish Maharaj by his uh, constitutional activities, what he was doing, he gradually, he gave up his material desires. All these things doesn't happen in one suddenly. Giving up material desires, enjoys. Here we're talking about giving up the desires for material enjoyment. We're not talking about not using anything material. We can use everything in the service of the Lord. So we're not talking about giving up the material object. No, we're talking about giving up the desire to enjoy this material object. This is important. So the king of this planet, this Amrish Maharaj, performed devotional service to the Lord in this endeavor, and he practiced severe austerities. And one of the austerities was he did Ekadashi very nicely. For devotees, mostly for Hare Krishna devotees, Ekadashi means a change of diet. They have a different prasadam, different menu. That's it. But their bellies are full. But Ekadashi is not. Ekadashi is a very powerful way of purifying one's existence. And Amrish Maharaj used to do Ekadashi very nicely. He was performing Ekadashi very nicely, performing devotional service very nicely. He used to fast for the whole day. He used to fast for the Ekadashi for the whole day. He used to not even drink water. And then on the next day, he used to break his fast. Like this. This was the way he performed his Ekadashi Vrata. And being pleased with the unalloyed devotion of Amrish Maharaj, what happened? Tasmat adata dharish chakram pratayanika bhavayam ekanta bhakti bhavena prito bhakta virakshanam. What happened because of this unalloyed devotion of Amrish Maharaj? The Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king Amrish Maharaj his own disc. Means his Sudarshan Chakra was always protecting Amrish Maharaj. So we need to understand that not only Amrish Maharaj but also his wife, good wife, was equally qualified as Amrish Maharaj, and she used to equally follow all the vratas. She used to follow all the vows which Amrish Maharaj took, she also did. So to observe Ekadashi Vrata, that was the Ekadashi Vrata, Dwadashi Vrata means to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you follow Ekadashi nicely, then you can see that first of all, there are so many advantages of following Ekadashi Vrata, but one of the main advantages is that our heart is purified. All the sinful activities and sinful thoughts which come in our mind, it gets completely cleansed by the mercy of Ekadashi Vrata. Yes, it is a austerity. If someone performs Ekadashi Vrata with water or without water, let's say it might seem a big austerity. But yes, this is a good austerity for the pleasure of the Lord. And if one can do that austerity, for the pleasure of the Lord, one can purify this, one can purify his existence. If you want to see miracles in your life, if one wants to see miracle, absolute miracle in Krishna consciousness, if you want to see miracles in our life, then one should perform this Ekadashi Vrat nicely. And then you can see the miracle in our life. And what will happen when we perform this next day, when we break our fast, it's so satisfying. We get an unlimited amount of happiness and satisfaction within our heart. And also there is a huge glow on our face, natural glow on our face by performing this vrata. Because we become purified. So Maharaj Amrish's wife was equally qualified and she was supporting him. And therefore, it was possible for Amrish Maharaj to engage even his household affairs in service of the Lord. So unless a wife is equally as qualified as a husband, household affairs are very difficult to continue. If the husband wants to, perform devotional service and the wife wants to watch movies, every new movie comes in the theater, she wants to go and watch. So this is the way it's very difficult. That's why it is advised that one should choose a spouse. Husband should choose a wife and wife should choose a husband who is like-minded and also who is devoted to the Lord. We might get many opportunities to marry others who are not devotees, but we should be very careful because Krishna consciousness is very rare, and we have got it this in this our birth. We should be very careful in with whom we are going to spend our life. We should we should only try to associate or choose a wife or a husband who is also devoted to the Lord and who will enhance your Krishna consciousness. So, Maharaj Amrish, there was an incident which happened in Maharaj Amrish's life. So, incident was that as Maharaj Amrish was engaged in devotional service of the Lord all the time, so and he was pleasing the Brahmanas. He was taking good care of the giving the charity to them, taking care of them, taking care of all their needs. So he was very, very good caretaker. So one day, while he was observing this Ekadashi Vrata, and he was on the Dwadashi day, he was about to break his fast. At that time, the great Muni, the great Durvasa Muni, a very powerful mystic, he came there as an uninvited guest. There is Atithi, this is called as Atithi. And it is said that Atithi is, one should treat Atithi as the Lord. Guest who is uninvited, we have to treat them as God. So this is our culture. So even though the enemy comes to you, even if the enemy comes, still, if he's coming to our house, then we should deal with him in such a way that he will forget about his enmity, or he should feel that this is the person whom I don't like, and now see when I'm going to his house, how is he taking care of me? So we might have difference of opinion with so many people, but when it comes to dealing with different people, we have to be very loving and very caring. And especially when they come to our house, we should deal with them in a very nice way. Very nice way. So Amrish Maharaj, when he saw Durvasa Muni, the great powerful mystic coming as an uninvited guest, Durvasa Muni took good. Amrish Maharaj was very, very pleased to see him. And but Durvasa Muni came at a very crucial time. He came at a time when it was Dwadashi Vrata, and Amrish Maharaj has fasted for the previous day, and he was about to break his fast. He had not drank any water, and he was about to break his fast. Now Nirjala Ekadashi is coming. So many of you will be doing Nirjala Ekadashi, so you might experience what does it mean by fasting for Ekadashi without water, and the next day when the breakfast time is there, at that time is very crucial, very significant, because we have to complete our vrata. Not that we'll get a chance to eat. No, if we had done this vrata, if you had done this Ekadashi vrata, it has to be broken at a certain time. We have to break this. We have to break this fast at a certain time, and then that vrata will be successful, complete. So Amrish Maharaj very respectfully received Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni accepted the invitation to eat. But before he could go and accept his breakfast, Amrish Maharaj, he's told to Amrish Maharaj that I will go and take a bath in Yamuna. I will go and take a bath in Yamuna. So Amrish Maharaj waited. He had no option. He had to wait. And Durvasa Muni, he went there to Yamuna. He was taking his bath, and then he fell into samadhi. He went into samadhi, and in samadhi he was meditating for a long time. And what was the situation here? The breakfast time is very for a short time, and if you don't break fast at during those times, then you break the vow of Ekadashi. So it has to be done at a proper time. But here as a guest, it was beauty of Amrish Maharaj that he would first feed the guest and then he would himself eat it. That was the first responsibility. But here he was in a situation. He was in a dilemma. So what should he do? That if I wait for Durvasa Muni to come back, he might come in the evening, and then I'll break my vow, which I'm doing for the pleasure of the Lord. What should I do? And if I eat something, what will happen? Then it is an offense to the lotus feet of the Durvasa Muni that I am eating before the guest. So that's an offense. So this is we have to learn. We have to learn this. Everything is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is in the Srimad. We have to learn this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that how we should take care of our guest. So what consideration should we have? If the guest is there in our house, we should first feed him nicely, and then in the end we should eat. Not that we eat before serving the guest, we go in the kitchen and eat everything and then come back and serve. No. First, we have to take care of the guest. So here, Amrish Maharaj was in a dilemma. When he was thinking what to do, now what to do. So whenever he was in troubled situation, he consulted the Brahmanas. So he consulted the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas told him what? What did he tell him? That Brahmanas told him that Amrish Maharaj, you can drink water. By drinking water, you will break your vow of Ekadashi Vrata will be broken. The Dwadashi Vrata will be you will break your fast also because you followed the Vrata without drinking water. So by drinking water, you will break your fast. And because it is not food, it will also save you from Durvasa Rishi's curse or from Durvasa Rishi's anger. Because you have not eaten anything, you just drank water. So Amrish Maharaj thought, yes, this is a very good advice. This is a very good advice, and he liked it. He said, okay. So Amrish Maharaj, he drank a little water, and by mystic power, Durvasa Muni could understand what exactly happened, and he became very, very, very angry, and got up from this Yamuna where he was doing this tapasya, and he came walking, and he was very angry. And when he returned, his anger went to such an extent that he took a hair he took a hair and he created a demon which appeared like a fire of death. And now this Durvasa Muni, he ordered that demon to kill Amrish Maharaj. Now Durvasa Muni, he did not knew, although he was a very powerful yogi, but he did not knew what? He did not knew the glories of bhakti, the glories of devotional service, the glories of devotees, and the glories of the Supreme Lord. Amrish Maharaj was a great devotee. He had devotion in his heart, and he was protected by the Lord. But Durvasa Muni did not know this. So the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, who is always the protector of the devotees. And to protect Amrish Maharaj, he sent a Sudarshan disc. He sent Sudarshan Chakra. As soon as the Sudarshan Chakra came, manifested there, immediately what it did, it cut off the head of that demon who has appeared there. And as soon as the demon was killed, the Sudarshan Chakra was so angry that how dare someone try to trouble Amrish Maharaj. So that Sudarshan Chakra started to burn Durvasa Rishi into ashes. Now Durvasa Rishi was not an ordinary person. He is Rudransha. He was Lord Shiva's empowered representative. Some portion of Lord Shiva's potency was there in him. He was a very powerful personality. This Durvasa Rishi, very powerful personality. So Durvasa Rishi, he fled to Brahmaloka. He thought that let me go to Brahmaloka and Brahmaji will help me. He's the creator, he's my father. He'll help me. So Durvasa Rishi went to Brahmaloka and Brahmaji saw from a distance, oh, this Durvasa is coming to my home. And Sudarshan Chakra is behind him. So Brahmaji said, not here, go to Lord Shiva. I can't help you in this situation, you have to go to Lord Shiva. So Brahmaji, although very powerful, but he cannot protect Durvasa, who is another powerful mystic, was very powerful. But Brahmaji could not protect him from Sudarshan Chakra. See, what can an offense do? You need to understand. If you offend devotees, if you criticize them, if you give displeasure to them, then even Brahmaji cannot protect us. And then what happened? He went to Lord Shiva. Durvasa Muni went to Lord Shiva, his own master. So Lord Shiva also could not protect him. Lord Shiva said, I am helpless. What can I do? This Sudarshan Chakra doesn't listen to anyone. All my Pashupat Astra, all the Astras are still in front of the Sudarshan Chakra. So, then Lord Shiva suggested, okay, this Sudarshan belongs to Lord Vaikuntapati. You should go to him. The Durvasa Rishi went to Vaikunta. So one might ask, so Durvasa Rishi was so qualified that he went to Vaikunta. And we need to understand which Vaikunta he went. Every universe has a local office for Vaikunta. So, the pastimes of Jai Vijaya going to Vaikunta, and so many different places where we hear the four Kumaras going to Vaikunta. So all this is happening in the local Vaikunta. It is a local Vaikunta. This is called as Dhruvaloka, Shwetadeep. All these different names are there for this place called as local Vaikunta. So Durvasa Rishi went there. Durvasa Muni went. And Durvasa Muni surrendered himself to the lotus feet of the Lord. Complete surrendered. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami ma pishyati. Durvasa Rishi understood that nobody can protect me except for Lord Vishnu, because this chakra belongs to him. And he said that one who surrenders unto me, I will protect. He said that. So Durvasa Muni entered Vaikunta planets and he offered his prostrated dandavats. Hey Krishna, Karuna, Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika, Kanta, Radha, Kanta, Namastate. He offered his prostrated dandavats to Lord Narayana. But what did Lord Narayana say? Narayana said, you came at the wrong place. I cannot protect you. How can I protect you? He said, Durvasa said, no, Sudarshan Chakra belongs to you. It is your Sudarshan. God said, so what? It is my Sudarshan, but it is not in my control. So, in the whole of history, from the creation up till now, and I think in the future also, this was the only incident where somebody surrendered to the Lord and the Lord was helpless. Somebody is saying, oh no, my dear Lord, I offer my everything to you, I surrender unto you. And the Lord is saying, I cannot help you, sorry. I'm helpless. What can I do? What is Lord saying? The Lord said something to Durvasa Rishi. The Lord said, Aham Bhakta Paradhino. Aham Bhakta Paradhino Harish Aswatantra Iva Dvija. Sadhubhe Drasta Hridayo Bhaktar Bhakta Janasya. What is Supreme Lord saying to this Brahmana? He's saying that I am completely under the control of my devotees. I'm completely Aham Bhakta Paradhino. And I am not at all independent. I am bound up. I'm bound up by my devotees in their heart. And because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, they don't want anything from the world. They only want me. And because their heart is completely devoid of material desire, I reside in their heart and perform my pastime. So what to speak about my devotee? Those who are devotees of my devotee are very, very dear to me. So, my dear Durvasa, Aham Bhakta Paradhino Ye Swatantra Dvija Sadhubhe Drasta Hridayo Bhaktar Bhakta Janasya. So I cannot help you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So all these great solid personalities in the universe, including Brahma, Shiva, are fully under the control of the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Lord is under the control of his devotees. One might question, why is this? Why? Because the devotee is Anya Abhilashita Shunya. In other words, he has no material desires in his heart. So this is the definition of a devotee. A devotee means he has no other desires. Otherwise, how is he called a devotee? If he has material desires in his heart, so we should better think if he called it a devotee or not. But because the devotee is Anya Abhilashita Shunya, in other words, he has no material desires in his heart, and he desires only of me, he desires always thinking of me. And he's always thinking of how to serve me. And because of this transcendental situation of his, the Lord is saying that I am completely under the control of him. Narottam Thakur says, what he says? Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Pachiya Keva. Without being a devotee of a devotee, one cannot be released from the material entanglement. So what is our duty? Our duty is to become devotees of the devotee. We directly cannot approach the Lord, but we have to approach a Lord. We have to approach a devotee who has captured the Lord in his heart. How did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identify himself? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identified himself as Gopi Bharatupada Kamalayor Dasa Dasanudasa. Thus he instructed us to become not directly servants of Krishna, but become the servants of the servants of Krishna. So devotees like Brahma, Narada, Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami and are directly servants of Krishna. And one who becomes a servant of Narada, Vyasadeva, Shukadeva, like the 6 Goswamis, are still more devoted. What is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur saying? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasad. Yasya prasadat nagati kutobi. So if one sincerely serves a spiritual master, Krishna certainly becomes favorable to such a devotee. So following the instructions of a devotee is more valuable than following the instructions of Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. This is what has been said here. Then further the Lord is saying to Durvasa, Naham Atmanam Ashase Mad Bhakte Sadhuvir Vina Shriyam Chatyangiti Brahman Esha Gatiraham Esha Gatiraham Para. What is the Lord saying? Oh, the best of the Brahmanas. Without saintly persons whom I am the only destination, without this pure devotees, I also do not desire to enjoy any transcendental bliss. I do not want to enjoy any transcendental bliss or my supreme opulence. I do not want to enjoy without the devotees. So this is what the Lord is saying to this Durvasa Rishi. Such an important lesson we are getting in this in this incident from the Lord, about the devotional service and the devotee of the glory. We are able to understand. How we are able to understand the glories of Bhakta, the glories of Bhakti, and the glories of Bhagavan. And then further the Lord is saying, what is saying? Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhuna hridayam tvaham mad antyate janati naham tebhyo managati. What is the Lord saying? The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. What is saying? The pure devotee resides in my heart, and I reside in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees, they do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anything else but them. So these are the pure devotees. So one might be any big personality in the world, even a personality like Durvasa, but he cannot be protected if he offends a personality like Amrish Maharaj. He cannot be protected, neither from Brahma, neither from Lord Shiva, neither from any demigod. Nobody can give him protection. Nobody can give him protection. So what did the Lord say finally? The Lord advised him. The Lord advised him that you should go to Amrish. If Amrish forgives you, then the Sudarshan Chakra will be pacified. The Lord is the Sudarshan Chakra belongs to him. The Lord is saying that I cannot protect him from Sudarshan Chakra, but Amrish can, because I am under his control. The Sudarshan also is in his control, not in my control. So you go and take shelter of Amrish Maharaj. So by the order of the Supreme Lord, Durvasa Muni immediately went to Amrish Maharaj and fell at the lotus feet of the Lord, Amrish Maharaj. He fell. And Amrish Maharaj, being naturally very humble and meek, he felt very shy and very ashamed. And because of him, this Durvasa Muni had fallen at his feet. Now, what he was saying, he was saying that Sudarshan Chakra has burned to some extent the body of Durvasa. Durvasa was a very powerful mystic yogi. Still Sudarshan Chakra burned his body from the backside. It was about to, in the process, to burn Durvasa Rishi completely. So, So Sudarshan Chakra, when we understand what is Sudarshan Chakra, Sudarshan Chakra is the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he creates this entire material world. Sudarshan Chakra, it is said that it is the origin of the creation, and it is very, very dear to the Lord, and it has thousands of spokes. And this Sudarshan Chakra is the killer. It can kill all other weapons. All other weapons. It can kill all the darkness of the world. And at the same time, if you take shelter of Sudarshan Chakra, it is the manifester of the progress of devotional stuff. So this is the glory of Sudarshan Chakra. Without Sudarshan Chakra, without the mercy of Sudarshan Chakra, this universe cannot be maintained, and therefore Sudarshan Chakra is employed by the Supreme Lord. That is the job of Sudarshan Chakra, to take care. This were the services of Sudarshan Chakra. So when Maharaj Amrish prayed to Sudarshan Chakra, what did he pray? That please be merciful. Then Sudarshan Chakra, being appeased, he refrained from killing Durvasa Muni. Actually, initially when Amrish Maharaj was requesting Sudarshan, he was not responding. He was still very angry on Durvasa. He wanted to finish him off. But then Amrish Maharaj said that, my dear Sudarshan, if the Supreme Lord is pleased with my devotion, then please you be pacified and go away from here. So as soon as Amrish Maharaj said this, Sudarshan Chakra went back and he refrained from killing Durvasa Muni, who actually received the mercy of Sudarshan Chakra. So Durvasa Muni thus learned to give up this nasty idea of considering a Vaishnava as an ordinary person. Therefore, it is said that Bhakti, Bhakta and Bhagwan are not ordinary and they do not belong to this material world. Bhakti, Bhakta and Bhagwan belong to spiritual world. The Lord is their protector. The Lord is their maintainer. So we should not consider Vaishnava as an ordinary person. Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. Sometimes we have this, when we consider Vaishnava as an ordinary person. No. He might have so many faults with him, but still Vaishnava is a Vaishnava. We should see Vaishnava with great respect, great honor. We should give to the Vaishnava. Maharaj Amrisha belonged to Kshatriya group, and therefore Durvasa Muni considered him lower, because Durvasa Muni was a Brahmana, Amrish Maharaj was a Kshatriya. So Durvasa Muni used to consider Amrish as lower than the Brahmana. And he wanted to exercise his Brahmanical power against him. But by this incident, what happened? By this incident, everyone should learn. By this incident, everyone should learn. Even Durvasa Muni learned. Now we should also learn how to stop mischievous ideas of neglecting Vaishnava, ignoring Vaishnava. After this incident, Amrish Maharaj, he very well welcomed Durvasa. He welcomed him in his home and he fed him nicely. Till this time, Amrish Maharaj did not eat anything. All this thing happened. He went to Brahma Loka, Shiva Loka, Vaikuntha Loka. So, what did Amrish Maharaj do? Amrish Maharaj thought, oh, Sudarshan is taking care of him, so I will eat prasad. What is the problem? No, he did not do that. He waited for Durvasa Rishi to come back. He waited, and so when he came back, Amrish Maharaj lifted him Durvasa Rishi fell flat unto the lotus feet of Amrish Maharaj. He fell flat. He offered his frustrated obeisances. Dandavat, Sastang Dandavat, unto the lotus feet of Amrish Maharaj. A Brahmana, a great, powerful Brahmana like Durvasa, by whose name the people are afraid. That same Brahmana, whose personified anger, that same Brahmana has now surrendered to Amrish Maharaj. And Amrish Maharaj lifted him up and embraced him. And then welcomed him. After all this incident, who will welcome? If we come to know that someone wanted to kill us, some person wants to kill us, will we go and welcome him? Will he go and call him, please, oh Prabhu, I know you wanted to kill me, but please come to my house, I want to kill you. Will you do that? No. Yes, Durvasa Rishi wanted to kill Amrish Maharaj. But how is Amrish reacting? Amrish Maharaj is reacting, oh, come. He stabbed Durvasa Rishi nicely. And then Amrish Maharaj took his remnants. Although this incident was there, but still Amrish Maharaj considered himself insignificant, and he still considered himself lower than Durvasa. And he took his remnants. So in this way, we come to know about this glorious life of Amrish Maharaj and this incident, which teaches us so many things. It gives us so much insight. Thank you very much. Hari Bol.